Glide, Portamento and Glissando for synthesists. Now I'm quite specific about that because sometimes they are interpreted in slightly different ways by different instrumentalists. There is actually a lot of confusion about the actual real definition of these terms, and that is something I don't want to discuss here and I'm not going to get into, but I will mention a few things as we go along. But this is for you, for synthesists and synthesizers. All three terms mean a sliding of a pitch from one note to another, but in slightly different ways. So let's start with glide and portamento. Now for synthesists, these two words mean exactly the same thing, and on synthesizers they do exactly the same thing. Some synthesizers will call it glide, some will call it portamento. The terms are generally interchangeable, and glide or portamento means you slide from one pitch to another like a big pitch bend. So let's see and hear what that sounds like. So I'm using the Moog Grandmother, which is monophonic, but it has a good glide control, so you'll be able to hear exactly what is happening to the pitch. So if I just play two notes, one after the other, they sound as you would expect. If I use the glide control and turn this up, you can hear that the higher I turn this, then the greater the slide or glide between the notes. So this is on full now. So we can go for the extreme effect from one end of the keyboard to the other. That's a nice glide. So we'll go down the keyboard. So the glide has a super range. So in practice, this is great for special effects, and you can use filter sweeps and all sorts of stuff on them. If you want to solo, so you can add a little bit of glide to create a nice sort of solo effect. If you're clever, which is not really what I am, you can use the glide in real time. That was terrible, but you probably get the idea. It's not something which I tend to do, but it is versatile. Of course, it is an alternative to the pitch bend. So that was a monophonic example on the Grandmother, which can only play one note at a time. But let's have a look and a listen to this on a polyphonic synth. So this is the UDO Super 6. I apologise for the dodgy camera work, but I haven't got a camera set up to take a good shot of this. So on the UDO Super 6, this effect is called Portamento. This is the Portamento control. It's just a simple slider. And at maximum it runs up to 10 seconds, but the interesting thing about the Super 6 is that the Portamento is polyphonic. So if we put this in the middle and let's just try a chord. I just think that's wonderful. And of course I'm playing the chord of C here. We can play different chords, of course. So we are sliding from a C major chord to an F minor chord. So let's just put this to maximum. It was pretty high anyway. Let's start with a C chord down here. This is sliding down from the F minor. the time. That's 10 seconds apparently. I didn't count it, it seems quite long. I think that's a super effect. Let's go up to a C minor. Lovely sound. Anyway, the object of the exercise is simply to show you the effect of polyphonic glide or portamento. So the defining feature of a glide or a portamento is this smooth transition from one pitch to another. You can produce a glide or portamento effect on any instrument, which enables you to slide between notes. You can do this on the guitar. I love bass guitar slides down to the note, and you can do it on string instruments. Now let's bring in glissando. Usually I think to most people this means again a slide from one pitch to another, but with a glissando you hit the individual pitches on the way. Now you can imagine if it's a really fast glissando, it is going to be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to physically play each individual note on many instruments. However, on a keyboard instrument and on instruments such as the harp, this is really easy because you just run your fingers over the keys or over the strings. Now, some wind players, I have been informed, will interpret a glissando and a portamento as approximately the same thing. If you are a wind player and you do not, then please don't shoot the messenger. This is just one of the interesting and sometimes conflicting bits of information I found on Google. But for synthesizers and synthesists, if you were playing a keyboard, then it's a fast movement from one note to another, playing all the notes in between. Now, some synthesizers have a built-in glissando effect. Now, this is a great effect, and I'm quite surprised that more synthesizers don't have built-in glissando. I can't believe it is difficult at all to program. However, if your instrument does not have built-in glissando, then the only way to produce it, other than by programming it into a sequencer, for example, the only way to produce it is by running your fingers over the keys. So you are not hitting every single note, you are not hitting the black notes. That would be quite difficult to pull off, I think, but you are just running your thumb or fingers over the white keys and then diving into whatever it is you are playing. So glissando, the Moog Grandmother does not have a glissando effect. You can create it by using your thumb and sliding it down the keys. Now you will almost certainly hear me doing this. You will hear the keyboard effect as I do it. I will try to create another take and remove the microphone from this sound, but here is a glissando, and you can do it up the keyboard using the back of your fingers. So I'll try that again, and I will try to remove the keyboard noise. So this is probably more typically used on piano sounds, which I shall demonstrate in a moment on another machine, but you could use it to scoop up or scoop down into a sequence. Such as, let's say we'll scoop them down, something like that, and equally into a lead if you wanted to. So that's a way you can potentially use this manual glissando effect with a synthesizer. Now, glissandos are quite common, or certainly have been in the rock world, with organs and with pianos. Rock and roll, for example, abounds with glissandos. Here is a little example. So I don't have a piano, but this is a piano sound. And typically what rockers, for example, might do would be to gliss down from the top of the keyboard into an accompaniment riff, maybe something like this. Probably a little bit better than that, and equally you can sort of gliss up like that. Again, preferably better, but you get the idea. So that's about it. Glide, Portamento, Glissando for synthesists and synthesizers and keyboard instruments. So if there has been any confusion, I hope that has cleared it up. I hope you found this useful. If you did, perhaps you would like to click the big red subscribe button, ring the bell. Thank you, so YouTube will tell you when I post a new video. And if you would like to click the big thumb, that would be a big help too. As always, I do appreciate you watching my videos. So for that, thank you very much indeed. I will see you again in the next one.